At my wife Eleanor's funeral, I stood alone under a gray November sky. I'm Thomas, 64 years old, and I watched them lower her casket into the cold earth at Beechwood Cemetery in Ottawa. The chapel had been nearly empty. Just me, a minister who read from a script, and 38 years of marriage disappearing into the ground. I pulled out my phone. Old habit. No messages. No calls. I opened Facebook out of some masochine, need to see what they were doing instead. There was my daughter Victoria, 35, posting from Mont Tremblant, a photo of her in a white ski suit, holding a cocktail at some chalet. The caption read, "Sometimes you have to choose yourself. Self-Care Sunday," posted 3 hours ago, while her mother was being buried. I scrolled down. My son, Marcus, 40, had shared a LinkedIn post about closing a $60 million merger. A photo of him in a navy suit, shaking hands with executives in a boardroom in downtown Toronto. Posted this morning. During the funeral, they thought I was just a tired old contractor, a man who worked with his hands, someone too simple to understand their sophisticated lives. They thought I'd be easy to manage. They had no idea what Eleanor had left behind for them. The next morning, I heard a car in the driveway at 8:30. I'd been up since 5. The house on the lake felt too big, too quiet without her. I looked out the window, Marcus's black Audi, Victoria's white Range Rover right behind it. They were here together. That should have been my first warning. I opened the door. Marcus walked in first, wearing a gray Tom Ford suit. Not funeral clothes, business clothes. Victoria followed in Lululemon leggings and a Canada Goose jacket. Her hair was in a sleek ponytail. She looked like she'd just left the gym. "Morning, Dad," Marcus said, brushing past me. His cologne was too strong, expensive, but too strong. We brought breakfast. Victoria placed a Tim Hortons bag on the kitchen table and a tray with 3 coffees. "Medium double-double for you," she said, sliding one toward my usual seat. That small gesture, that careful attention to detail, it made my skin crawl. I sat down. This was Eleanor's kitchen. It still smelled faintly of her vanilla candles. Now it smelled like whatever game they were playing. Marcus took the chair across from me. He cleared his throat. "Dad, we need to talk about yesterday. About Mom's funeral." I just looked at him. I know, he said, holding up his hands. "I'm sorry I couldn't make it. But the Thorncrest deal was closing. 3 years of work, $60 million. I had to be there in person," the investors insisted. He had Eleanor's dark eyes, but there was no warmth in them, just calculation. Mom would have understood. She always understood business. Victoria, scrolling through her phone, finally looked up. "And my listing, Dad, the Rosedale property, $8, $4 million. The buyers were flying in from Dubai. I had to be there for the showing. If I'd canceled, I'd have lost the whole commission." She reached across the table and touched my hand. "We sent the most beautiful flowers, Dad. White lilies, Mom's favorite." I remembered the flowers. They'd arrived at the funeral home with a card that said, "With deepest sympathy, Marcus and Victoria Hamilton." Printed. Not handwritten, like they'd ordered them online between meetings. "We're devastated," Victoria added, taking a sip of her oat milk latte. It all happened so fast. Fast. Eleanor had been fighting ovarian cancer for 11 months. 11 months of chemotherapy, radiation, and watching her get smaller and weaker. 11 months where I held her hand through every treatment. 11 months where Marcus was too busy with mergers and Victoria had client dinners she couldn't miss. "Anyway," Marcus said, and his tone shifted. The false sympathy evaporated. "We need to discuss something important. The estate." He stood up, walked to his briefcase by the door, and came back with a leather folder. He opened it and slid papers across the table. "What is this?" I asked. "Mom's will. Or actually, the lack of one," Marcus said. "She died intestate, which means under Ontario law, you get the preferential share, but the rest gets divided equally among all beneficiaries." My blood ran cold. "The house," Victoria said, right on cue. "This property is worth $1.9 million, Dad. Probably more. Waterfront in Ottawa, that's premium real estate. That's not including the cottage in Muskoka." "Wait," I said. The cottage? Dad, be reasonable, Marcus cut in. That cottage is sitting empty. It's worth at least $750,000. Between the house and the cottage, we're talking $2.6 million in real estate alone. Victoria pulled out her iPad and turned it toward me. Listings, condos in Barhaven, one-bedroom places, small, cheap places. We've been doing research, she said. You don't need this big house anymore, Dad. The stairs, the yard, the maintenance. You're 64. You should be in something manageable, something modern. We've already talked to a realtor, Marcus added. Patricia Chen. She's the best in Ottawa. She can list both properties next week. We close by January. With this market, we might even start a bidding war. And our shares? I asked quietly. Marcus smiled. It didn't reach his eyes. Well, obviously Victoria and I would split 2/3 of the net proceeds after your preferential share. It's the law, Dad. It's fair. Fair. Dad, please, Victoria said, squeezing my hand. Her nails were perfectly manicured. Gel, probably. Don't make this difficult. We're all grieving, but we need to be smart. The market is hot right now. If we wait 6 months, we could lose value. This house, I said slowly, is where we raised you. This is where your mother made you birthday cakes. Where we had Christmas mornings. Where she taught you both to swim off the dock. Exactly, Marcus said. It's full of memories. But Dad, they're just memories. You can't eat memories. You can't retire on memories. This is a $1.9 million asset that's being wasted. $1.9 million. He'd already had it appraised. Not estimated, appraised. I need time to think, I said. Marcus's patience snapped. He leaned forward, and suddenly he wasn't a 40-year-old investment banker. He was a child, having a tantrum. There's nothing to think about. This is simple math, Dad. Sign the listing agreement. Let Patricia handle it. You're grieving. You're not thinking clearly. Let us manage this. I stood up. Every one of my 64 years made my back ache, but I felt something else rising in me. Something cold and clear. Get out, I said. Dad, get out of my house. It's not just your house, Marcus hissed. It's ours too. We have a legal right to our mother's estate. Get out before I call the police. Victoria's face flushed red. You're going to regret this. We're trying to help you. Out. Now. They left. But I heard Marcus on his phone before he even reached his car. Patricia? It's Marcus Hamilton. Yeah, we need to move forward with the legal option. He's being difficult. I closed the door and stood in the hallway. Then I remembered the safe deposit box. Eleanor had given me the key 5 weeks before she died. Her hands were so thin, so fragile. She'd pressed the key into my palm at the Ottawa General Hospital. Box 428 at TD, she'd whispered. When I'm gone, go there first. Don't tell anyone. Just you. I hadn't understood then. I understood now. I drove to the TD Bank on Bank Street, the branch we'd used for 30 years. I showed them Eleanor's death certificate and the key. The manager, Daniel, who'd helped us refinance the house 10 years ago, led me to the vault. Take your time, Thomas, he said quietly, giving me privacy. Inside box 428, there was a manila envelope and a small voice recorder. The envelope had my name written in Eleanor's handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. Inside was a letter, several pages long, and underneath, legal documents. The first page made my heart stop. Transfer of land title. Registered owner, Thomas James Hamilton. Date, August 15. 4 months ago, before Eleanor got too weak, before the final round of chemo, the house was mine. Solely mine. Both properties. But it was the letter that broke me. My dearest Thomas, it began. If you're reading this, I'm gone. And I am so sorry. I'm sorry I kept secrets. I'm sorry our children became who they are. Most of all, I'm sorry you're alone. But you're not defenseless. I made sure of that. I know Marcus and Victoria came to you. I know they want the house and the cottage. I knew they would because, my love, they've been taking from us for years. And I've been too afraid to tell you. Marcus borrowed $220,000 from us. Do you remember 4 years ago, the investment opportunity in commercial real estate? He said he'd pay us back in 6 months. He never did. Every time I asked, he said the property hadn't sold yet. The market was slow. Next quarter. Always next quarter. I have the bank transfers. They're all here. Victoria took $130,000 for her real estate investment course and startup capital. The course was $15,000. The rest? Designer clothes, renovations to her condo, a lease on that Range Rover. I have the credit card statements. I paid them. I kept quiet because I didn't want to hurt you. I didn't want you to see what they'd become. But my silence was poison. It made them worse. It taught them we were just an ATM. Just resources to be extracted. When Dr. Patel told me I had less than a year, I knew what would happen. I knew they'd come for the properties. This house, where you built the deck with your own hands. Where we slow danced in the kitchen on our 30th anniversary. So I did what I had to do. I transferred both properties into your name. The house, the cottage, all of it. The lawyer confirmed it's legal. They were my inheritance from my parents, so community property rules don't apply. It's yours. Completely yours. But there's more. There's something you need to hear. It's on the voice recorder. I made the recording while you were at your woodworking class. I'm sorry you have to hear this, but you need to know who they really are. I love you, Thomas. I've loved you since I was 23. You are the best man I've ever known. You deserve peace. You deserve to live without vultures. So I built you armor. Use it. All my love. Always, Eleanor. I sat there in that small private room in the bank vault. I couldn't breathe. I picked up the voice recorder with shaking hands. One file, dated September 22, 6 weeks before she died. I pressed play. The audio was muffled at first. Eleanor must have hidden the recorder somewhere in the bedroom. I heard her breathing, labored and weak. Then, footsteps. Victoria's voice. Mom, we need to have a serious conversation. About what, sweetheart? Eleanor's voice was so thin, so tired. About Dad. About what happens when you're gone. Victoria, I'm very tired. Can we? No, Mom. You keep avoiding this. Marcus and I have been talking. We're worried. Worried about what? About Dad handling everything alone. Mom, he's 64. He's a contractor, not a financial planner. How is he going to manage $2.6 million in real estate? The investments? The accounts? Your father is perfectly capable. Is he, though? Mom, I love Dad, but he's old school. He barely understands online banking. He still writes checks. How is he going to navigate probate? Estate law? Property taxes on 2 homes? There was a long pause. What are you suggesting? I'm suggesting we be proactive. Protect the family assets. I've had a lawyer draw something up. Rustling of papers. What is this? It's a transfer of beneficial interest. It puts the house and cottage into a trust. Marcus and I are co-trustees. We'll manage everything for Dad. Make sure the properties are maintained. Make sure he's taken care of. This says the properties transfer to you and Marcus upon Thomas's death. Well, yes, eventually. But Dad will have life interest. He can live in the house as long as he wants. We're just making sure everything's protected. Victoria, no. Mom, don't be stubborn. You're sick. You're not thinking clearly. This is what's best for everyone. Marcus agrees. We've both talked to lawyers. I said no. Fine. Victoria's voice went cold. Then I guess we do this the hard way. When you die, there's no will. Everything goes into probate. Marcus and I will fight for our legal share. It'll take years. It'll cost Dad tens of thousands in legal fees. Is that what you want? You want Dad spending his retirement fighting us in court? You wouldn't do that to your own father. Try me, Mom. We have rights. We're entitled to our inheritance. You and Dad spent our inheritance on this Lakehouse, on the cottage, on your comfortable retirement, while Marcus and I had to build everything from nothing. We gave you both over $300,000. For business investments, that's different. That's not a gift. That's a loan. You never paid it back. Because the market crashed. Because opportunities fell through. That's not our fault. Eleanor was crying now. I could hear it. "How did you become this?" she whispered. "I became smart, Mom. I became realistic. Now sign the papers." "Get out." "What?" "Get out of my room. Get out of my house." "Mom, you're being irrational. Get out." There was silence. Then, footsteps. The door slammed. The recording continued for another minute. Just Eleanor, crying softly. Then her voice, speaking directly to the recorder. "Thomas," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm so sorry you had to hear that. But now you know. Now you understand. They're not our children anymore. They're strangers. Don't give them anything. Don't give them mercy they wouldn't show you. I love you. Be strong." The recording ended. I sat there in that vault room. I don't know for how long. Daniel knocked gently. "Mr. Hamilton, are you okay?" I wasn't, but I would be. I called the lawyer whose name was on the transfer documents, Susan Park. She agreed to see me that afternoon. "Your wife was extraordinarily thorough," Susan said, after I showed her everything. "The properties are yours, completely. They have zero legal claim. The transfers were executed properly. She was of sound mind. We have her doctor's assessment. It's ironclad." "They're going to fight," I said. "Let them. They'll lose. And Mr. Hamilton, there's something else. Your wife set up an RESP trust for your grandchildren." "What?" "An education trust. $150,000. For Marcus's 2 boys and Victoria's daughter. It goes directly to them when they turn 18 for post-secondary education. Your children can't touch it, can't borrow against it, can't convince the kids to sign it over. Your wife made sure of that." $150,000. Money Eleanor had inherited from her parents. Money she'd protected, saved for the next generation. "She told me," Susan continued, "that she wanted to save something pure, something Marcus and Victoria couldn't ruin." 2 days later, Marcus's lawyer sent a letter threatening to contest the transfer, claiming Eleanor had been manipulated, diminished capacity, undue influence. Susan sent back the voice recording. Marcus's lawyer withdrew the case within 24 hours. But they didn't stop. Victoria called me, crying. Fake tears. "Dad, please. I'm struggling. My sales have dropped. I can't afford my rent. I need help. I'm your daughter." "You make 6 figures as a realtor," I said. "Those designer clothes aren't free. Maybe sell the Range Rover." I hung up. Marcus showed up at my door at midnight, drunk, pounding on the door. "This house should be mine. I'm the eldest. This is my inheritance." I called the police. They took him away. Gave him a warning for public intoxication. I changed all the locks, installed security cameras, and then I did what Eleanor wanted me to do. I lived. I sold both properties, not to line their pockets, but because Eleanor was right. They were too big, too full of painful memories now. The house sold for $2.1 million. The cottage for $820,000. I bought a small 2-bedroom condo in Westboro. Modern, accessible, everything on one floor, a balcony overlooking the Ottawa River. The rest of the money, nearly $2 million after the condo purchase, I put into the education trust for the grandchildren. Susan made it bulletproof. The kids would have their university fully paid for, their graduate degrees if they wanted, first home down payments. But only when they turned 25, only with proper financial counseling. Marcus and Victoria would never touch a penny. I see the grandchildren sometimes. Marcus's ex-wife brings them. She divorced him 8 months after the funeral. She'd heard the voice recording. She was horrified. She got full custody. Victoria's husband lasted a bit longer, but he's filing for separation now. Turns out Victoria's spending wasn't just her parents' money. She'd racked up $90,000 in credit card debt he didn't know about. The kids don't know what their parents tried to do. They're 7, 9, and 11 now. They just know Grandpa lives near the river and keeps cookies in the cupboard. We go to the Museum of Nature. I teach them woodworking in the building's workshop. They ask about Grandma. I tell them she was the smartest, strongest woman I ever knew. Marcus and Victoria are different now. Quieter, smaller. Marcus had to leave his investment firm. The divorce, the scandal, the drinking. He works at a smaller company now, makes a fraction of what he used to. Victoria moved to a one-bedroom apartment in Nepean. She teaches yoga 3 times a week. It's honest work, not glamorous, but honest. I don't take pleasure in their failures. I don't feel victorious. I just feel tired and sad. Sad that it came to this. Sad that my children became people I don't recognize. But I also feel something Eleanor gave me in her final act of love. I feel free. I go to Beechwood Cemetery every Sunday. I bring white lilies, her favorite. I sit on the bench beside her grave and I talk to her. I tell her about the grandkids, about the condo, about the river view. You were right, I tell her. About everything. The wind comes off the river, cold and clean, and I swear I can hear her voice. You're free now, Thomas, she'd say. Live. So, I do. I wake up in my bright little condo. I make coffee. I watch the sunrise over the Ottawa River. I meet my old crew from the construction sites. We have breakfast at Elgin Street Diner. We tell old stories about the projects we built, the houses we framed, the decks we finished together. I'm not a father anymore. Not in any way that matters. That relationship died when my children chose money over love, greed over grief. But I'm still a grandfather. I'm still Eleanor's husband, even in death. I'm still Thomas Hamilton, 4-year-old carpenter who built a life with his bare hands. And for the first time in years, that's enough. This story isn't about revenge. It's about boundaries. It's about the difference between love and enabling. It's about understanding that sometimes the people we raised become strangers we can't save. Eleanor's final gift wasn't just the house or the money. It was permission. Permission to protect myself. Permission to say no. Permission to live without guilt. She knew that real strength isn't about being the richest or the most successful. It's about having the courage to draw a line, to protect yourself from those who would weaponize your love, to walk away from people who see you as an asset instead of a person. It's a reminder that it's never too late to choose yourself. That peace doesn't come from wealth or status or perfect children. It comes from knowing you honored the people who truly loved you, from knowing you refused to be a victim, from knowing you kept something pure for the next generation. What would you have done in my place? Would you have fought? Would you have given in to keep the peace? Would you have found the strength to honor your partner's final wishes, even when it meant losing your children? Think about it. And if you've ever felt used by the people who should love you most, know this: you're not alone, and you deserve better.